Welcome to Too Many Minis. My name's Ossie, and today I'm joined by James. You do a wave.
Hello.
And George, and
Hello.
from the London Wargaming Guild Middle Earth group. And this video is primarily for people in that group who are going to be doing our Battle Companies campaign kicking off in the next month. But it may be of interest to anybody thinking of doing Battle Companies or just likes our faces, that kind of thing. So let's talk it through. We've been meaning to do Battle Companies for a while, but COVID and stuff, we finally got it started, and we've got 31 players signed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of new players because I'm a new player to London at least.
Yeah,
I wasn't part of the previous attempt that COVID destroyed.
It was probably going to, because we were in the final part of Slow Grow.
Yeah.
When lockdown happened, and Slow Grow was going to end, and then Battle Companies was going to start.
Yeah.
So it would have been April 2020, maybe May 2020. So
yeah, we might have had 10, 12 people.
Years.
We might have had 10, 12 people doing it then, right?
Yeah, I think we had 8 the first time we did it.
Yeah.
But 31 is
31
crazy. I was not expecting it.
And we kind of basically with the idea that Battle Companies, if you don't know, it's the sort of campaign narrative, small one warband way of playing Middle Earth strategy battle game, but it's not really well balanced. It's not really a competitive game, and we're leaning into that and going more for the narrative, right?
Yeah, so the general idea, well, we put out a survey, and most people said that they'd prefer a more narrative version than a competitive version. If people have played it before, they probably know that competitively it's pretty broken. There are choices you can make, there are companies you can take, and you will just win. A few of those we took out. So Rangers, Dead, they're not in ours at all, so no one can pick those, which is probably a good thing for the people playing against those.
Yeah, I think some of we'll get into it more later, won't we, about the tweaks and stuff, I think. But I think some of the actual companies got tweaked as well, like their special rules and stuff.
Actually. Yeah.
And we've basically, James, you've taken what people who've signed up have given as their little narrative reasons for. We're setting this in the East, right?
Yeah, it's set. So the name of the campaign is it's the Age of the King, Battle for the East.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's immediately after Sauron has fallen, and then it's the aftermath, and we've got companies of good and evil heading east or like retreating east, being chased. And we were trying to find a narrative to sort of fit around everything. And I think it was the other George who just said to me, "Why don't you just make people write their own?" And I was like, "Okay,
yeah."
So in the sign-ups, we've had everyone write like a brief of their company background and then what they're trying to achieve. And then we're going to turn that into like objectives for them to complete over the course of the campaign. And then possibly something to end it, which ties into what they're trying to do.
Yeah. I had to think of a reason why a warband of hobbits would be in the east of Middle Earth. So, it's a challenge. And we're sticking to that narrative thing. We're going to be giving sort of prizes for people's narrative, the stories they create as they go along, and for the themes of their forces. Yeah, right. The kind of look and all that. So, if you blow everyone else away, there's not going to be any glory for you. It's going to be a little bit of glory. A little bit of glory. And from the 31 signups, we got a pretty good split of evil and good, didn't we?
Yeah. 14 evil, 17 good, which is as close as you can really hope for. Like,
I think it's great.
One difference would have made it perfect, but I think this is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Especially as we weren't really pushing anyone to pick either or. And to be honest, I was expecting less evil. Like the good companies just seemed so much more thematic. But heading east, we've got a lot of Harrod, Easterlings, Far Harrod actually. Lots of variation.
Yeah, because we got a breakdown here. We've got 13 armies, 13 battle companies that are formed of men across the various
Oh,
factions.
so our race breakdown, yeah.
Race
It's mostly
breakdown.
men, but that's a mix of good and evil.
Yeah, 5
Uh,
orcs, 5 dwarves.
Yeah, dwarfs seemed really popular,
Yeah.
which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
There's 2 listed as men and elves. What's that? The Defenders of
That's
Helm's Deep.
Defenders of Helm's Deep, which
Right.
I think isn't in the book. That's one of the
It's a
new
movie.
companies you can take.
Yeah, I think that replaced Last Alliance, didn't it? For like a third
Yeah.
age equivalent of Last
Yeah.
Alliance.
Yeah, because we dropped the things which wouldn't apply at all, right? So we
dropped Arnor, Last Alliance. I think we tweaked some of the ones that
we
didn't want to
renamed
drop.
a couple. We renamed a
Yeah.
couple. So if we get to our actual individual factions, yeah, things like we put Shadow of Angmar. So it's the region of Angmar, but it's not the kingdom of Angmar, the
like
evil, you know.
Spiritually Angmar.
Yeah, right. The descendants of Angmar. And what was the other one we did that with?
I think
Dwarves
it was
of
Khazad,
Glittering
wasn't it?
Caves.
Yeah. Which you
'Cause
can't see in that screenshot.
No, but
Dwarfs of the
Khazad-dûm
Glittering Caves.
Khazad-dûm is very much vacant of
Yeah.
dwarves at that point at the end of the Third Age. So yeah, the dwarves had to come from somewhere else, and we thought they might as well be Gimli's new gang, new batch in I can't remember the special name for it is. No, it's gone. The Glittering Caves. But we've got 3 people playing that, which is quite fun.
Which is nice,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got a total of, I don't know where the 5th dwarf faction is. There's 5 dwarf factions, but Iron Hills, yep. So we've got 3 of the vanilla dwarfs, and then 1 of the Moria expedition, 1 Iron Hills. Most popular factions were Glittering Caves and Minas Tirith.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of Minas Tirith played this year in the slow grow as well. It's definitely
that's true. Yeah,
plenty of it around, but I think that's only right. They are I think they're the main guys, in my opinion.
It's nice. We've got a lot of very unique companies in there.
Yeah, and that's great. Like I'm really excited to face things like Paths of the Druidan. You know, that's going to be fantastic. You know,
I'm glad someone picked that.
I think people are going to enjoy playing against my hobbits.
Yeah.
And
lots of experience.
Did anyone take goblins?
No, see, it was one of the only factions we had none of.
Yeah,
because we got a last minute Urukai. Oh, actually 2 Urukai. We got Scouts of Isengard and Vanilla Isengard.
Yeah.
For a while,
so the good evil split really surprises me. But then when you actually look at the races, the fact that you've only got 7 like proper evil races of orcs and Urukai, that's what I expect, if that makes sense. So
yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, we let people pick from their. I forget what it's called. The Dungeons and Dragons.
like good alignment. That's it.
Alignment chart. We let some people pick from the alignment chart to see what kind of faction they are, and we've got a lot of like neutral or like lawful evil. So you've got people like the Eastlings, Harrod, Far Harrod, and a lot of people have written those evil companies to have not so evil objectives.
Right, they think they're the good guys.
Well, obviously they're
the good guys in their own story. Yeah. And yeah, like we said, we tweaked some of them, changed them around a bit, renamed some of them. We're not going off the Battle Company's 2nd edition book. We're going from the Battle Company's Community Edition, right?
Yeah. So that was made by the Middle Earth Tabletop Simulator Group. And they very kindly gave us an editable pack. So we've taken theirs, which I think is already a really good addition of the rules, and then we've made some further changes over the top of that. So they've got some really interesting changes. Mostly they've changed a lot of companies. Changed, for example, how much it costs to roll for reinforcements. So Iron Hills now it's 4 influence to roll on reinforcements. Hobbits.
Yeah, I noticed that with elves as well.
Yeah. So it's a bit of whereas before you could get an Iron Hill on Goat for the same cost that someone else can get a Hobbit. It just tightens that gap a bit and just makes it a little bit more fair. They've also added, I think, 3 or 4 new hero paths. One of the most interesting ones is like a musician, which I think everyone is going to have a lot of fun with.
Yeah.
So they can. Oh, we're going to include some conversion bits in this pack, and musician parts are definitely going to be in there.
Yeah, and that's worth mentioning. We're building a pack for it. It's not just going to be a sign up and roll up on the day. We're charging for it so that we can make a nice pack with all the things you're going to need, and yeah, that's going to be pretty exciting. And that's influenced kind of how we thought about the what we were going to be doing, right? I mean, these hero paths, for instance, you want to be able to represent these different heroes as they develop.
Yeah. So the path of the minstrel is the one I was referencing, and they can spend will points to like perform a magical song. And I'll just give you an example of one of the things. If one of them basically makes them a banner for that turn. One of them forces the enemies to not benefit from standfasts, which could be quite an interesting one late game. And yeah, it works the same way as the other hero paths. You can sort of roll to get extra songs. It's quite a similar one to the path of the sorcerer.
Yeah, that's cool.
If everything plays out, I would love to have a sentinel, a Wood Elf sentinel, become hero but a musician. That I think that would be like a lovely progression there. But
very little thematic.
Yeah. Whether or not that actually plays out.
I once tried making a small harp out of green stuff. That's one of the most unsatisfying things I've tried to do. It's a bad job. I don't think hobbits will play a harp. If I get a hobbit musician, they're going to be playing like a tuba or something.
Yeah, they're definitely going to pay something a little bit obscene and loud.
A serpent. Some nice medieval. Oh yeah, I guess a fiddle, yeah.
Yeah.
That's also not that easy to make, but yeah, maybe we'll get on the case. So to go into the bigger changes we made, because we made there's quite a few changes in general in this community edition, but then on top of that, you guys have worked out some changes to that.
So there's one major one we did, and this is largely based around our experience through Blood Bowl. And anyone who knows Blood Bowl will know that you have inducements. So if one team is heavily more valuable than the other, the lower value team gets inducements, and they can get certain buffs, star players. And at the moment, the base Battle Companies edition, all you get is a reroll for every 15 points, which it never really helps, especially when the gap gets wider. A single reroll in Middle-earth, it just doesn't make a big difference. So instead of that, we've picked out the bits of the game that no one really uses, which is basically the equipment and the wanderers. And now you can purchase those with your undervalued, like the difference in value. So if your battle company is undervalued by 100 points, you'll have 100 points to spend on various items, which I think we're going to get a screenshot of so you can see. But it will be, you can still buy the rerolls. You can get a better reroll that you can use in post game, which can be very big. Being able to reroll a dead hero is a massive advantage.
Yeah, but just to be clear, it's taken from Blood Bowl. It's for that game, so it's just the imbalance in points for that game. Your next matchup's going to be different, but for that game, it's trying to redress the balance in points value between those two battle companies.
Yeah,
and to stress that point even more, we've actually named it. So in the thing, you can see it's called BT. That stands for balance tokens. Like that's the name we came up with.
Yeah, just to distinguish it out from points, because we have increased the points values of these items from their regular points values, just because when you're getting them to redress balance, we don't want to make them. There are quite a lot of dead points in battle companies. You can get points for special rules that don't really add that much, so you can find yourself being a more valuable company with a lot of like bloat.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to make these things cheap, so that when you got them, you were sort of getting a hero, like an efficient hero. So a lot of these are being increased by about 50% or so, just to make it so that if you are really far behind, you'll get a buff, but we don't want to push it too far.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things on that list, which I don't think is in the core Battle Companies rules, traps and snares from the Scouring of the Shire book. So you can take 4 traps with you, which I think is just going to be very fun. I've not been able to play with them from Scouring the Shire yet, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think also one of the most popular ones is going to be healing herbs as well. You know, getting +1 on your injury rolls, because you know if you're an underpowered battle company, maybe you expect to be wiped off the table. You know, it's certainly possible. So you may have a lot of injury rolls to roll, and you know, getting that +1 on all of them.
Got a lot of deaths to avoid.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's also covering the wanderers, and that's quite nice. The idea that, you know, when you're outnumbered, you'd be like, "Oi, you wandering assassin over there! We'll give you some BTs. Can you just come and help us out for this battle against these orcs?"
Well, again, another thing about those is I've never seen anyone take them in regular battle companies, just because influence is so much better spent on equipment, reinforcements, and it's rare that you'll have like 8 left over at any point to spend on a shaman.
No, I think
it's just it's finally potentially getting some of these things to actually get used as well.
Yeah, and I think for anyone not in the know about why Wanderers would never normally be taken, it's because they can't gain experience. So you get a good profile, but it's never going to get better.
Yeah,
you know, that's the main turn off Wanderers.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, every time we've played before, I've never had spare influence to that. It's always being spent on horses for your heroes or like extra equipment for your people. I've never actually, I don't think I've ever reached the full 15 in any of the campaigns we've played before. So I just highly doubt this campaign's 15 games. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier, and I just don't think anyone will get to the point in a battle company where they'll normally take one of the Wanderers.
So with the Wanderers, there are like about 10 types of Wanderers: assassins, dwarves, elves, foresters. What do the foresters do? Just chop down trees?
I think they're like a Bjorning, but not the bear kind.
Woodman.
That's it.
Orc, sage, shaman, wayfarer, and then we've added a very exciting wanderer. And he's called Farazga, which you worked out a nice translation from something, right?
Yes, yeah. So should I mention it, or is that going to be a piece of trivia that if anyone can guess?
But yeah, what does it mean? What does his name mean? Answers on a postcard. And basically, we thought this would be a kind of a wandering mercenary who's particular to this Eastern setting, right?
Yeah. That's the sort of goal. I mean, so I think when we were discussing all these like balance tokens and you know what to spend stuff on, I think we threw out the idea that it'd be really cool to have a unique guy, right, for this campaign, unique profile, you know, and etc. So I think, we from that we sort of wanted we wanted him to be tied to this Eastern area. You know, there's got to be a reason why he's there.
So he's a kind of Eastern wandering mercenary, sword for hire, and he's got around. He's been around the place and he's worked with everyone. And George has sculpted in Blender, and then we'll be printing for everyone their own Farazga. Here he is. I've got a prototype, and I'll show you a proper close-up of him. But he's let's just talk it through. He's on his travels. We don't know exactly where he's from, but probably somewhere in the east. And he's managed to get himself a belt and a loincloth from a belt from Harad, one of those cool big kind of wrestler belts. He's got the kind of shin pads of the Easterlings. I don't know what the proper military name for them is.
Oh,
Don't know.
no, I forget. Boots.
Leg warmers. He's got a lovely cloak. He's got a Minister of helmet slung on his back. He's got a kind of classic Erebor dwarf shield. And probably most excitingly, he has a hand and a half elven made sword that he either got in payment for some work he did for the elves, or maybe corpse looting.
Yeah, post-battle loot.
And I really like the idea that this guy, all our battle companies could interact with him. All he's playing all sides against each other.
Yeah, he's kind of like a NPC for the campaign, but you
Right.
can also potentially play with him. He's going to sort of potentially interact with some of the narratives and be kind of your contact for things, potentially the guy selling you equipment. But he is like full on just a mercenary, doesn't care.
Yeah. And the fact that you can only get him with balanced tokens means that you're never going to have two Farazgars playing off against each other.
Right. It will be the disadvantaged side that will have the mercenary in any situation.
Exactly.
If they can afford him, yeah.
So you may. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say you may find yourself in a situation where one game, you play with him because you're a bit undervalued. The next game, you're playing against a weaker battle company, and suddenly he's flip sides.
And you're
then he'll flip sides.
That's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy who was helping us.
Yeah.
And he'd just be like, "Yeah, a job's a job," And we'll put his stats up on the screen. But what do you want to talk through on his stats? Where does he sit in the world of Middle Earth?
I would say he's a decent, human hero. So he's like, Minister of Captain sort of levels of heroics. I would say
2 attacks, 2 wounds, strength 4, fight 4, defense 6. Is that including the shield? Yeah, the shield's in the profile.
Yeah.
So he's defense 6. So he's likely to be better than your best hero until you have got somewhere in the game, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. And because he's only fight 4, the elven made weapon is actually huge, because I think fight 4 is by far the most common in battle companies because it's only elves who start off higher.
Yeah, out of the companies we've got, there's quite a hefty amount of fight 4.
Yeah, so having winning that roll off on a 3, 4, 5, or 6 instead of just a 50-50, that I imagine that might play into it quite a bit, because with the 2 attacks, 2 might, you might get a 6 quite often.
Very true. Yeah. My favorite rule from his profile: you can only learn from hired blades. Being able to pass off the experience from his kills to nearby battle company members, I can just imagine him just slaughtering an orc and just being like, "This is how it's done."
Yeah,
giving his experience away.
Yeah, and it's I like that from in the Lord of the Rings. Even in the film, they have the little bit where Boromir's kind of teaching Merry and Pippin and Sam to fight a bit and stuff. It's like when you're traveling around in a company, there's time to pass on some expertise, right? It's you don't just learn from the battles; you learn from your comrades.
I can imagine him with your Hobbit battle companies now. Just slaughtering orcs right next to them as they just sort of roll there.
None of mine even have swords for the most part. They're just going to be holding like mallets and I don't know.
Random tools they found.
I agree. I think it was the most important. It was the most important special rule we gave him, really, because all the other wanderers, if they kill stuff, they're stealing experience from your company because they're not gaining experience. You can't keep them. Yada yada yada. But at least with Farazga, you can kill something twice with him. and you're not losing that experience. You know,
Yeah.
you guys get it. So you want to use him, you want to put him in battle. You know, and that I think that's great in terms of actually helping a battle company, because you don't just want to like be buffed and lose all the potential experience you might get.
Yeah. And the actual model itself has had a bit of is been quite storied, because you started with a nice naked kind of Ken doll with his and you stuck some boots on him, and then you had to build those Easterling scale mail one scale at a time, right?
Yeah. I thought there was going to be a quick way of doing that, and there wasn't.
I remember George was sending us an image every day, and it was just, it started off his boots, and then the next day it'd be up to his ankles, and the next day it'd be up to his knees, and then every day he just got a little bit more clothed.
Yeah, it was like a reverse Full Monty. It was starting at the end, but he's you had the cloak on him, and you were saying how do we sort of connect the cloak, and we were talking about we could have it coming round into a clasp, or having one of those kind of napes on the front, kind of bib. And then I was like, what about Dr. Doom? He's got the cool brooches with the chain, and we were all like, yeah, okay, let's do that. So it's just a bit of Dr. Doom in there, all these different bits of Middle Earth. And it was a good learning for you as well, right? Because you've done Ministerial, and you've done models where you're trying to sort of impersonate a Games Workshop existing thing.
Yeah, so it was a learning experience on many levels, really, because so firstly, I've done Ministerial, so I've done different poses, but basically copying the aesthetics from Games Workshop and Lord of the Rings films, all the rest of it. But also, what I love about doing Ministerial is that it's all very inorganic. It's a rigid body armor,
hard, and smooth surfaces.
Exactly, and in what I do day to day, I'm a scientist. I like that. I can define how body armor works and all the rest of it. And then suddenly we were talking about Farazga, what his background should be. I mean, the pose as well. We haven't mentioned that yet, but it was going to be automatically. It was going to be a much more organic model. You've got like free flowing cloth. You've got this quite. Not dynamic pose, but he's still walking, and he's got one arm up, he's got one arm down, and everything. There was a lot I had to learn on the job, really, when doing this, but I had great fun designing him. It was great.
And you found out
the final one looks. Oh, sorry.
No, the final model looks great, and the sort of the flowing cloth. That's you've used some AI or something to help you with that, right?
Not AI, but yeah. What I did was I attempted to do cloth with sculpting, and I realized I can't do organic things. It just doesn't work. So I utilized some of my specialties, and so the cloth. Basically, I got a rigid cylinder around the leg, and then you start off a simulation, and the cloth just flows naturally under gravity, and it comes to rest naturally on the leg with natural ripples. And then
fantastic,
do that with the arms and the body and everything. And then it's not the final picture, because you've got to go in, you've got to sculpt it and make sure it all looks good and it will print well as well. But it gave me that initial form that I was lacking to do it otherwise, if that makes sense.
Because I cheated. I've just been doing that with green stuff on Hobbit cloaks, and it is that kind of like, okay, how does this work? Like, it's not gravity on a light object and stuff. It's tricky stuff. So it's come out great, and having painted it the last couple of days and stuff, it's really nice cloth work to paint. It's not like your old dodgy metal cloaks or something. It's really nice. So it's a real triumph.
I can't wait to play mine.
Yeah, it's a very surreal experience for me, because I've designed stuff for myself before, but I could never do it for other people, because there's intellectual property and all the rest of it. You can't sell them or anything.
Yeah.
But doing this one, he's completely unique. We've done the backstory for him, done the profile for him, done the model for him, and he's going to be used by people. He's an exclusive model. Just the whole experience has been great. I love it. But yeah.
And he's got a great nameplate base, you know, to give him the status he deserves. And as well as that, in your pack, if you've signed up to our battle companies, you will get a name plate. What are we calling it? A name plinth.
Plinth. Yeah.
For your leader with the name that you entered. So I've got mine here. My leader of my hobbits is a Dunedain. That's an addition in the community rules, so the hobbits can have a Dunedain, just one, and he's called Osirion. Osirion, and he's got his fantastic name in a super Tolkien-y font that you did, and everyone's going to get one of them with the name of their character. It's got a clever little not click in place, but kind of slots underneath the base, and paint it the same rim color as whatever you do, and it looks really nice, and it's going to keep making them a bit special.
Yeah, I'm sure Ossie will put up a photo or whatever, but the idea was that we wanted to design something that you could have for battle companies, but it doesn't mean you have to rebase your model, and it doesn't mean you're stuck with a permanently deep model. It's just a fun little battle companies edition. So we played around with different ideas of what would make it work, and we settled on this one. So I think, James, you were mentioning you're going to magnetize yours. I think I might just blue-tack mine.
So it's like hollow underneath. So I was going to stick a magnet on my base and a magnet underneath the plinth, and it should hopefully just sort of sit there and hold its place. Yeah, we'll test it out. But and
George, being such a stickler for the rules, gave himself a much more difficult job. Rather than just sticking the writing on the front of the base, he had to sort of set it back into the base so that it didn't add to the whatever it is, 24
so it's still
millimeters,
25 mil base size.
Yeah, well, if being exact, it's 24.9. I measured with a
with your little calipers.
Exactly. So the base of the plinth should match exactly the standard slot 25 mil,
and it very much does. I will be holding it up to the camera here, and it's very much perfect fit. Which is very satisfying. So everybody's going to get their name on the front. Do they have a choice?
They do have a choice of fonts. So these are the Ossie will again put this up. Sorry, Ossie. But they so you got a choice of these fonts. So these are the names of the fonts as well as the style they're in. So you got Ring Bearer, Anna, you're on. You got the Hobbiton one, which is what Ossie's was in because Hobbits did the Hobbiton one. You've got a Middle Earth one, and then you've got Viking at the bottom there. So you can choose your font. If you also want to change your leader name because you did a silly name or something, and you realize if it's getting printed,
potentially there's a few on there that might. I believe one of them's Max Verstappen.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, there's going to be a size limit to this name. So if it's something, I'll only take the first something.
No ent names. No. Long Hobbit names.
To us, a lot of the names are really good. Really like very Middle-earthy names.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some fantastic ones, as well as what we've discussed there. That's as well as Farazga and the plinth. The packs are also going to have some custom dice and a whole bunch of conversion pieces.
Yeah.
For battle companies, so like heads, weapons, like shields, armor, all sorts, like musical instruments, as we discussed before. So it will be as soon as that's ready.
Yeah,
because I think the rules are pretty much there now.
The rules are good to go.
Possibly publish the pack, a rule pack, before we get everything ready, so people can get familiar with it. So we'd hope in April.
Yeah, after Easter, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
that's the plan.
Yeah, I should be able to get quite a bit of printing done over Easter. I hope.
You got your work cut out. Got your work printed out. And we're gonna tweak the scenarios and drop one here or there and that kind of thing. And there's going to be some developments as the campaign goes on. Wouldn't you say?
Yep. We're also going to see about the rule book is potentially going to be a bit of a living rule book. So it's going to be about a 10-week campaign. There may well be things that we find in the first couple of weeks that are a bit problem areas. So we will potentially be tweaking things as we go, just to keep everything interesting and fresh and like not. We've had it before where if a certain about company gets too powerful, it just becomes completely unfun.
Yeah.
So if we have to tweak things as we go to make it fairer, more fun for everyone, then yeah, we'll potentially be doing that as well.
Yeah. And we're also going to put up a Google Doc or something where everyone can keep a little journal of their progress and see if some people want to really get into it and write it up in the.
I mean, some people have already sent me
style.
essays of lore for their companies.
Yeah.
So definitely we're going to give everyone like an area to just write everything they want to write. Like write up like their post game analysis, but in their own style.
Yeah.
That I'm really looking forward to reading some of those.
And there'll definitely be a prize for that at the end. Whoever's compiled the greatest there and back again story.
Yeah.
Or possibly there and not back again.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of prizes, I think we're doing a best painted Farazga as well.
That will be one of the other ones. Yep.
Yes. Yes, I think that would be great to see because that would be really interesting. If everybody paints up their Farazga, we're going to have a lot of different takes on him, and I'm sure some people will try and fit him into their army, or some will try and make him look like he's someone they've met around the way. And yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I think I'm going to try and paint him to match my current Harad, which will be very different to my Lothlorien battle company. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see them all. We've got some good painters in the group.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got some really good ones joined up recently. Hopefully, we'll make another video once the thing's underway or during it to show off some of the battle companies. I'll try and get some video of everybody's little battle companies as they develop, because
we could possibly try and get a few battle reports filmed.
Yeah, that's an ambition for sure.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, more easy with battle companies as well, and kind of interesting, a bit more personality.
Yeah, like 40-minute games. You've only got so many models to track. Yeah, it should be quite.
Lots of death in my hobbits, I should imagine. Lots of dying hobbits. I'm really stoked for doing hobbits, though. I'm really, really hyped for it, and I'm really excited with the work you two have done on this battle companies. I've been sort of like nodding and agreeing. Basically, that's been my role. But I'm really looking forward to the start of it, and hope to see all those. Hope all the 31 people have been watching this and excited to get these packs.
Yeah.
So James, George, thanks for joining us here, and we look forward to some battle companies. Thanks for watching too.
Yeah. Cheers.
See you later. Bye.
Great. Bye.